Hey folks, if you want to learn more about Indigenous history and culture during Native American Heritage Month, you don't have to go any further than St. Paul. There's a really big collection at the Minnesota History Center.
So joining us this morning to talk about Our Home Native Minnesota exhibit is a curator of Native American collections, Rita Walaszek Arndt. Rita, thanks for joining us today.
Good morning. I'm happy to be here.
Well, tell us about the exhibit.
Our Home Native Minnesota was first opened in December of 2019, and we had a lot of big plans, but then COVID happened. But it is an exhibit about Dakota and Ojibwe history and culture throughout the state of Minnesota and beyond, and it really dives deep into some of the stories of those communities and talks about historic but also contemporary stories.
What are some of the things in the exhibit? Like, if it's been there for years, what are some of your favorite pieces when you walk around?
That is a really hard question because they did ask me to put some of my favorite items out, and I was like, say less.
The curator loves
I know, I was like, say less.
Right?
And so that was really fun. But one of the things I really like is we have a case dedicated to wild ricing in our Ojibwe homeland section. And I really love it because it has historic items from 1890s, but also stuff from about 2015, and then stuff in between. So what I really like about our exhibit is that it's not on a timeline that you're typically used to. We have stuff that is old, but we have stuff that is new because a lot of our culture and history is just connected throughout that timeline. So it's fun to be able to have that continuity and to show it over the years.
Talk a little bit about what you hope people take away from spending time in the exhibit.
I hope people take away a lot of things. I think the number one thing is that to understand that we are still here. So I didn't mention, but I am an enrolled citizen of the White Earth Band of Ojibwe, which is in northern Minnesota. And one of the big things and misconceptions is that Native people no longer exist. And as somebody who's been Native my whole life, like I don't know any different. I was like, I am here, I'm still here, we are still here, we're thriving. And so we have thrown a lot of contemporary artwork out at the forefront just to show people not only the beauty and the essence, but also to be like, we're still here, we're contemporary, but a lot of these items are tied back to these old traditions and old ways of knowing that we have known since time immemorial. So I really enjoy that aspect.
This is about resilience and strength, and I'm interested to read about Twin Cities photojournalists kind of got together from the 1950s and 90s and looked at things. Tell us about that in this exhibit.
Sure. So a really great aspect to the Our Home Native Minnesota is we have a smaller rotating gallery space where we're able to change out the stories every few years to dive deeper into some of these, more of these stories that are in the larger exhibit. And our first one that we have is called Reframing Our Stories, which is the Historical Society happens to have a lot of collections, including stuff from the Star Tribune over the years. And there was a lot of photos from the photojournalists, and they were just labeled Indians. So what we did is we went through and we organized things a little differently from just Indians and really went through the photos, shared with community in these binders. There was about 70 to 100 photos to name folks, to talk about the stories, and to really reframe what the stories were written in the newspaper and to what community would say. And one of my favorite things about that is we did have one of the photojournalists from the Star Tribune come to the event and also work with us, and he's like, yeah, this is really great to really highlight how the press has talked about Native people in the past and how things have changed over time too. So that's a really great exhibit. It has a lot of cool photos. It has a lot of really neat stories from the individuals in those photos. So that's really another exciting aspect for me.
And there's also different places around the state where people can take in some of these really neat exhibits. Tell us about some of those.
For sure. So the Minnesota Historical Society, it has 26 sites throughout its entire network, which is very unique. And I always want to say that as Minnesotans, we need to say how great our historical society is, because it is the second most best one in the nation. And I would say the best, but we won't. I was like, go for it. It is the best. It is the best one. But within the 26 sites, we have a lot of opportunities to learn about a lot of different histories, including Native history. So my home away from home is the Mille Lacs Indian Museum and Trading Post, which is right on Lake Mille Lacs. It's like we were talking about beautiful scenes. That is a beautiful scene. And also the Trading Post is a really great place to buy stuff from people who are Native artists and makers. You can buy stuff directly from them at that place. Another one that I absolutely love, which unfortunately I think is closed for the season now, is Jeffers Petroglyphs, but it is one of the most ancient sites that we have in Minnesota, and it is so beautiful, and I recommend visiting at every time of day, because it is in the morning, you get a different feeling than in the afternoon, in the evening, and I've been there at night and you can see the stars in the Milky Way.
Oh, wow.
And there's stories about celestial events in those rock faces. So to think about the ancestors being at that place and
what they
looking
were
at the
seeing,
stars,
yeah.
yes, is just one of the most amazing things I've ever participated in.
Wow. I also want to talk about the Lower Sioux Agency.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So Lower Sioux Agency is one of our partnership sites that we have with the Lower Sioux Indian community, and that they really focus on the events that led up to the U.S.-Dakota War of 1862, but it also talks about a lot of the resiliency and the community of the Lower Sioux Indian community, which is a really becoming a more vibrant place to visit. So you go there to read history. They have a lot of walking paths that have a lot of narrative signage along the way to talk about events that led up to the war, but also a lot about Dakota community and culture from that time to now.
Tell us about the Birch Coulee battlefield.
Okay, so Birch Coulee Battlefield is not too far from the Lower
Okay.
Sioux Agency, because it is related to the U.S.-Dakota War of 1862, and that one is also a really great place. It doesn't have an interpretive center, but there is a lot of signage, and that is really great too, because it's multilingual. It has Dakota language and English to be able to talk about the different aspects of the war from both sides, to really have a better and deeper understanding of that time period.
And last but not least, many voices, many stories, one place exhibit.
Yeah, so that is at historic Fort Snelling at Bedote, and that the fort has a lot of different history, and I think one of the biggest things for Indigenous folks is that it is a place of genesis, but also is a place of genocide. And that is, it's a really hard story to tell, but it's an important story to tell. It also is a place, because it is a military place, so there is a lot of history related to the military. And also it was a Japanese language school, so it's including not only Dakota voices, but Japanese voices and military voices. And I really appreciate that exhibit, because we work really closely with community partners to be able to tell the story from direct folks, instead of having historians necessarily tell the story. Not that we don't like historians.
No, but it's good. It's better to hear the
Yes,
perspective
it changes,
from
yeah.
the people who experience. So, well, Rita, thanks so much for coming by. It was nice to meet you, and good to hear about everything that's going on.
Yeah, Miigwech.
You've got like 7 trips right there.
Yes.
Boom,
the
looking
weather
for
warms
something to
up.
do. There you go. If you'd like to learn more about the exhibit at the History Center, we'll put information for you on minnesotalive.com.